Should we get started?
Ready to rock.
Let's get ready. Okay, so good morning.
Good morning.
Bit of backstory for those of you that don't know me. My name's Sean Holden, as you can probably see, and we help coaches end self-sabotage so they can show up better in business and make more money and show up better in their personal lives for the people that they love. That's what we do, that's the offer. We average between 40 to 50K. And I'm giving you that just to kind of maybe shift a few beliefs that you can only make money in one particular niche, such as Morgan's niche. So what I said before to, is it Micah or Mika? Mika, apologies. I said before to Mika, the last time I stood up in front of this many people was in Marbella, and I started crying. They were good tears, but I was still crying nonetheless. So I'm not going to share that now, because I might cry again. But ultimately, what I kind of want to do today with you all, it won't take a whole lot of time, but it'd be really cool if you can be vulnerable, be honest, be very kind of transparent. Because I think if you can do that over this next 40 minutes, you will find the most value from it. So, I said to you before when I was sat there, most of you in this room are not sabotaging your business the way you think you are. Most of you are sabotaging your business in ways you aren't even able to see yet. So my goal for today, for this morning, feels really weird walking up and down. I feel like a teacher. But my goal for you all today is simple, and I'd really like you to write this down. It's to give you a bit of an insight as to why you do what you do, why you don't do what you know you should do, and why sometimes you think you can't do what you really want to do.
Why I do what I do and what I don't.
Does anyone want to help her out? Anyone catch it?
Why don't I do what I know I should do? And why you sometimes think you can't do it?
Why sometimes you think you can't do what you really want to do. So, why you do what you do, why you don't do what you know you should do, and why sometimes you think you can't do what you really want to do. Everyone got that?
Sorry, just the last one.
Oh, you've been serious? Oh, okay, cool. Okay, and why okay, cool. And why sometimes you
There's a lot of dominoes happening.
and why sometimes
Yeah.
you think you can't do
Yeah.
what you really want to do.
Thank you.
So, just a show of hands, who here thinks that they're sabotaging their business in one way, shape, or form? Okay? Cool. So, what I'd like you all to do is to just write down one way that you think you're holding yourself back right now. And I'll do it with you. We'll go over this nice clean board here. Maybe not that pen. Can you see that? Not hiring a closer. Everyone done? Yeah? Does anyone want to share what they've popped down? Remember at the beginning I asked you if you could be vulnerable, honest, and transparent. Morgan?
Trying too hard to keep control of everything because I'm scared that somebody can't do it as good as me.
Amazing. Okay, perfect. Anyone else? Is it
Kira,
Kira? Okay.
not taking action because I don't have the systems in place or perfect knowledge.
Amazing, yeah, perfect. Anybody else? We'll do 2 more. What was your name, sorry? Becky?
Got 3.
Okay.
Overcomplicating things, doing too many things at once, so not doing anything, and then also like losing confidence
Mm-hmm.
in myself.
Perfect.
sometimes.
Thank you. Oh, we'll go everyone if everyone's got the hand up.
I have a couple, but like I think one of my biggest ones is I stopped working one-on-one with men, which is my biggest learning account, because one client who was painful and then like it really damaged me a lot. It was very intense.
Okay.
Stress and intensive. Then I was like, I'm done working with men. I can't.
Okay.
But it cut my revenue in like 50% because they were my big clients.
Amazing. Okay. Not amazing that I cut your revenue, but thank you for sharing. Who else? Did you have your hand up? Is it Megan?
Just being too perfectionistic around content creation,
Mhm.
so like kind of feeling the need to micromanage it, which ends up slowing me down and just not having as much output as I could.
Okay. Amazing. What was your name, Pori?
Andy,
Andy?
very similar, being inconsistent in content and stories because of perfectionism, fear of failure, rejection, shame, and all that kind of.
Okay. Thank you for sharing. Appreciate it. Anyone else? No? Okay, cool. Thank you for sharing all of those things. There's a reason I asked you to do that, and we'll find more out about that a little later. So let's try and draw on this board so that you can see it. I'll do my best. Okay. Just for context, everyone got something written down in front of them? Yeah? Amazing. Okay, so a lot of what I tell my clients is there's always a reason why we do what we do. The question then becomes why. And it's very hard to kind of solve a problem unless we know where that problem's coming from. So hopefully by the end of this, we'll shed some light on everything that you've popped down in front of you. So when it comes to kind of the way we operate as humans, as adults, of course, there's so many different variables, different factors that come into place. So I'm going to try and draw a world. Just humor me, because I'm very aware you can't see that at all. So this is Earth, okay? This is supposed to be Earth.
I think these markers look a bit better.
Yeah? These ones here?
Or the red one, that was good.
The red? Are we on Mars? Shall I draw Mars? Okay. There we go. That looks a bit more like it. Okay, so when we're younger, of course, as you all know, we construct a map of the world. We all construct our own kind of map of reality. And this consists of our values, our beliefs, our principles. This is running out. Anyway. So, just to kind of test the room, it's not a test, there's no right or wrong, but I'd just love your kind of input to ask you all a question. Who would you say has kind of played the biggest role in the way in which you see the world today? Everyone understand the question?
Yeah.
Cool. No? Okay, so who, if I've shared something and you don't understand, please let me know, because that means I haven't articulated it well enough. So who has had the biggest influence on you that has vastly kind of dictated the way you see the world? So I'll give you an example, and then we'll do a quick run round. So of course you have society expectations. There's a lot of women in here. how much kind of pressure is there on women to do certain things at certain times? Marriage, kids, buy a house, all of these pressures. Again, they're external kind of expectations from society. Parents obviously play a huge part. If we're part of a religion, that plays a huge part. So my question to you all is, who has made the kind of biggest impact on you, positive or negative, which now dictates how you see the world?
Dude, I was gonna say that.
What's that?
Who is it?
Hermosi for you. Yeah. But we'll do it all the way around. Yourself?
I don't know. I'm thinking.
Cool. Anyone want to go?
So the biggest negative impact was my dad,
Mm-hmm.
and the biggest positive impact was a former partner's mother.
Okay, thank you for sharing.
Do you want to
Yeah.
know why, or that's good?
That's perfect. If you'd like to share, yeah, I'm all ears.
So, Janet was the least judgmental person that I had ever met in my life,
Mhm.
and she really, I just really feel like she helped me to release a lot of what I wasn't
Okay,
that I got from my dad.
amazing. Okay,
Yeah, pretty cool.
yeah. Okay, who would like to go next?
Definitely my dad, positively.
Mm-hmm.
Very strong values, principles. And then older on in life, I had a coach who really helped me through my sexual journey called Sophia Sandari, and she definitely refiltered my brain a lot when I was healing. So those are the positive, and the negative, 100% my mother.
Okay. Okay, that's really helpful. Yeah, that's really helpful. Anyone else want to share?
I could do, but mine's really deep and I don't want to bring the room down.
Here we go. That's what I was waiting for.
It's very fun.
That's what I was waiting for. There would have been one.
So my brother always used to say that you never know the next day. Today you could wake up and it could be the best day of your life. And that really shaped my entire world because he died when I was 9.
Oh, wow.
And his death taught me so much about how people deal with grief,
Mm-hmm.
how people view the world. But that anchor of what he always said is always stuck with me because that's just the way that I live my life. It's today could be the best day, so let's fucking enjoy it.
That's amazing,
So,
yeah. That's amazing. Thank you. You just gave me goosebumps. Thank you. Do you want to go?
Yeah, I was going to say, my brother, he introduced me to Tony Robbins.
Okay.
And then I started reading his books and just getting my brain around the fact that I can change something and I'm in control.
Mm-hmm.
It just set me on a different path.
Okay. Amazing. Thank you. Yeah, Tony's great. Okay, cool. That's really helpful. And I appreciate, again, everyone being vulnerable. I know can be quite uncomfortable. It's very uncomfortable standing up here in front of all of you. So I just want you to know I am reciprocating. Okay, so for those of you who haven't I think someone mentioned before, they're still thinking. That's cool. So I'm just want to run through something really quickly that might be helpful for you to identify. Okay. So there's a few factors that come into play. And I'm going to run through this because the stuff I really want to get to is in the next part. So there's a few things that will impact how we see life in general. Oh, this pen is so good. Okay, so where we were born. When we were born. Authority figures. And parents and/or caregivers. That looks so much better already. Okay, so a couple of you just touched on these things. Well, I just want to run through them all really quickly. So where we were born, who here was born in England? Me too. Who here was born in Europe? Okay. America? Canada? Australia? There's definitely somewhere someone's not put their hand up. Amazing. Taiwan, fabulous. South Africa? Nice. I went there last year. It was amazing. Going again in November, Cape Town.
Yeah, me too.
Oh, yeah? Okay, cool. Is this still working, Zach? I think it's falling off. Okay, so I certainly wouldn't be doing what I do right now if I was born in North Korea. I don't think they have access to internet there. I'm not sure. I also probably wouldn't be doing what I do now if I was maybe born in, I don't know, Gambia maybe. I don't know. I don't have a clue. So, of course, where we were born plays a huge role of how we see the world, the values we hold. Would we all agree? Anyone disagree? No? All agree? Cool. When we were born, I like this one. So when we were born, there's people that were born in different eras here, which is always nice to see. So I'll give you a real quick kind of example. I remember having a conversation with my nan, and she was telling me a long time ago that the only way to kind of ensure financial stability is to have a job, stay in that job, save up, and then retire. So again, that's my nan's perception on financial stability. Now, you ask anyone who's probably born in the 90s, maybe even 2000s, I'd probably say 2000s. What do you think they'd all say? Pardon? Crypto, yeah? Anything else? YouTube, yeah, absolutely. That's one of the most common ones. Business, YouTube, yeah. TikTok, loads of things. Again, same question to two different people who were born in different eras. Okay, so we can all agree when we were born plays a huge role. Okay, authority figures. Authority figures, of course, as you all know, I want to kind of make a distinction here as well. We can have authority figures that aren't parents in the sense of, and of course, forgive me if this comes across patronizing, but we want to kind of make this distinction because I think it's important. Authority figures can be kind of teachers, coaches. Maybe there was, I don't know, a gym coach at school that really kind of made a lasting impact on you, etc. And of course, these days, a Mosey, and anybody else that you can consume. Those are people I would class as authority figures, people that we look up to. So can we all agree? This plays a huge role? Amazing. Parents and caregivers. I think if we unpack this, we'd be here all day. Now, this is kind of the biggest one for me, certainly from the work that I do. So I've been working this offer for 18 months, and we've had over 100 people go through the program. And most of the problems have come from here. Now, I'm not a therapist, I'm not a clinician, but we have a process that can kind of identify why people do what they do, where they've kind of brought it from. And for the most part, it's parents and caregivers. There's people very unpleasant, as we've just briefly touched on, parents, not very nice. And there's the other side of that, people who aren't blood related, as you mentioned before, who can have, a significant kind of impact on us. So, all agree that these people can help us and sometimes harm us. Yeah? But either way, they dictate how we see the world. Cool. Let me get rid of this. So, any questions so far? No? Thank you all for sharing everything. Okay. So I want to bring an idea into the room today. And I want you to accept this idea. Challenge me if you see fit, that's not a problem. But I want you to kind of be open to the idea that we all have two life plans. So, we have two life plans. Okay? Now, this one here has been created for us, subconsciously. It's been created to keep us safe. It's been created to not upset the status quo. So there will be, as we've just mentioned, things that we all do, which our brain, I'm going to try and draw a brain. There we go. It's a blue brain. Okay, so this is the brain. So this one here, this life plan has been created by our brain to simply keep us safe. Now, self-sabotage is very, very simple when it comes down to it. We're just simply our brain trying to keep us safe, trying to help us avoid potential threats over attaining potential rewards. That's literally it. So we have this life plan where our brain's keeping us safe. We also have this life plan. This is what we construct. We decide, okay, I want to start a coaching business. I want to help hundreds of people all over the world. I want to make 10, 20, 30, 40, 50,000, maybe even more. Everyone have those plans? Mm-hmm. Yeah? Cool. So this is, for us, this is what we create. I mean, you could put any word in here. I'm just going to put growth, okay? Now, unfortunately, the problem I see is this one wins most of the time. And as I mentioned before, the brain and the life plan is simply created to keep you safe. So it's doing its job. It's just preventing us from anything really scary. Hiring, that new member that we know we need to do. Posting that ad, putting that money behind it. Letting it run even though for the first 5 days you're getting really shit leads. And your brain's like, turn it off. You've got to turn this ad off. Again, it's just this part here. We're spending money. And we're not thinking, oh, all we need really, we've spent £100 or £500, but we only really need one client. And people get stuck here. Any questions so far? No? Cool. Can you kind of, just for this talk, maybe accept the reality that this exists? Yeah? Cool. Okay. So now into the juicy stuff. There was someone before who said they don't know as of yet who has kind of had the biggest impact on them. Do you have more of an idea now? I don't need to know who it is. Still no idea? Cool. Okay. So, I said before, there's a life plan. Okay? This is an acronym. So I'd really like you to write this down. Okay. So I'll tell you what they all are, and then we'll explain them all in a lot more detail. And if I forget, someone please remind me. As you were all talking this morning, I took some notes about some conversations that you guys were having that I noticed. So I'm not, it's nothing drastic, don't worry. But there was a few things that Morgan shared, Megan shared, and Morgan again earlier on. So anyone who isn't Morgan or Megan, you're safe. Okay, so what we've found out is there's the acronym of PLAN is 4 ways in which we self-sabotage. And I don't expect you to know this, but does anyone want to have a guess what any of the letters are? Apart from Morgan, you're exempt.
Procrastination.
Laziness.
Limit and transferred beliefs. Anxiety of change. And then need for control. So I'll take a very educated guess at this point. Has everyone got that down, by the way? Cool. At this point, the thing or things that you popped down earlier will fall into one of these 4 categories. Maybe you just can't see it yet. So if I left you all today with a bit of an insight, a bit of an understanding, as I said before, as to why you do what you do, why you don't do what you know you should do, and why sometimes you think you can't do what you really want to do, would that be a good use of your time? Just one yes?
Yeah. Hell yes. Caps lock.
Okay, cool. So has everyone jotted this down? Fabulous. Let's run through them all. Let's get in the weeds of the self-sabotage. Okay, so let's start with poor self-concept. Let's not use that pen when doing it. Okay, so your self-concept consists of different social roles that you play within society. And each social role that you play within society, you will have an idea as to how well you think you are performing in that particular role in society. Make sense? Cool. So I will use myself as an example. So, and we can get really kind of like deep on this. So we could technically, and I'm not going to do this. In fact, I am going to do this. Okay, so like this is me as a business owner, okay? This is me, this is business, Sean. Okay, now business is quite vague, right? You know, in business, we have to put on different hats. We have to kind of do the content, do the sales. Maybe if we don't have a setter, we're doing the setting. Maybe we are hiring people, you know, and there's every single kind of hat that you're putting on. You will have a level of self-esteem associated to that particular role. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Okay, so in business, of course, you could have lots of mini versions of yourself. But this isn't what I want to dial in. I want to kind of go deeper outside of just business. Well, this could be sales. This could be marketing. This could be leading. This could be coaching. Again, all different kind of roles that you play within the business aspect. Make sense so far? Cool. So, because this is true in the business sense, it's also true outside of business. I'm going to share something with you based on a few conversations I've had. So this could be, I'll do me, Uncle Sean. So I have 2 nieces and a nephew. I'll do son. I'll do football team, Sean. Okay. Now, we will have a level of self-esteem associated to every single one of those roles that we all play within society, as I said, based on how well we think we are doing in that particular role. So I'll do it for me, and I'm going to get you to do an exercise in a minute where you can do it for yourselves, but just bear with me, I'll do it for me. So business-wise, let's say it's out of 10. okay? I'd say 6 out of 10. In fact, I'm probably being a bit harsh. Let's say 7. I'm doing okay. Uncle Sean. I could do better there. Son. Let's not get into that. Football. Okay, I love football. Okay, so this is my kind of level of self-esteem that I associate with this particular role based on how well I think I'm doing at that particular role. Now, the 10 out of 10, for an example, this is what we would call your ideal self. Okay? So this is your ideal self. And the interesting part about this, it's very paradoxical, because what you may perceive as a 10, let's say in business, maybe someone here is like, oh, if I get to 50K, that'll be me 10 out of 10. Like, let me get to 50K. Once you get to 50K, I promise you now, the numbers will change. It's never ending. And the reality of that is because humans are imperfect, right? We're never going to be able to attain perfection. So, now, this is the interesting part. So, self-sabotage usually occurs depending on the gap between where we are now and where we think we should be, or where we want to be, okay? So this is where self-doubt comes in. And I've used personal here because I want you to see it broader than just business. Like before, where I did the diagram of this, this, and this, you can still do the same, but I wanted to do it broader because a lot of the time because we're always business owners, we can just get really narrow focus on just business. And it's like, well, I could be sabotaging my relationship. I could be sabotaging, being a mum. Like, has anyone got children here? Cool, perfect. So you could think in your mind, okay, well, in business, I'm good at business. When it comes to being a mum or a dad, I don't think I'm that good. Maybe I'm a 3 out of 10. Maybe I'm a 4 out of 10. I could do a lot better. Is this all making sense? Mm-hmm. Okay, cool. So what I'd like you to do, in fact, let me move back here. So this here, when the gap is large in terms of maybe here, when the gap is large between where you are now and where you think you should be or where you want to be, this is where self-sabotage happens. This is where you mentioned procrastination before. Someone mentioned perfectionism. I think I had somebody before. To cure my perfectionism, I took another exam. Was that yourself? Sorry to put you on the spot. Oh. I think I heard you downstairs where you said to cure my perfectionism, I took another...
I just went to Stanford to get nutrition science.
Did you use that language?
Not perfection, my imposter syndrome.
Okay, thank you. Amazing. Imposter syndrome. Apologies. Okay, amazing. So this is where the self-sabotage happens, because we are here and we want and we think we should be here. So this is why I have worked with business owners who are doing 7, 8, 9, 10 million a year, who are incredible at business, but really shit at being a husband or a wife, or incredible in business, but really overweight, because the social role that they see themselves in the gym, they don't have a great self-concept. This make sense?
Yeah.
Cool. Is this helpful so far? Mm-hmm. Okay. And I see this a lot with very, very successful business owners, because usually kind of what they've done is they sacrificed these things to get really good at this thing. And I'm not here to tell you all how to run your lives. I said before, someone mentioned about when is it a problem? Well, it depends what you're optimizing for. Like if you want to, optimize your life so businesses are recurring and you can be the best father, the best son, the best mother, the best husband, wife, whatever, that's down to you, not me. So what I'd like you all to do, if you'd feel comfortable, you don't have to share it with me, but I'd like you to just take a few minutes to write down 4 or 5 kind of social roles that you play within society, and then write down a number out of 10, which would be your level of self-esteem as to how well you think you perform in that social role. Make sense? There was a musician I knew, and it made me, because we had a conversation before, it made me think of yourself. And he was really good at playing the piano. Really, really good. And I was like, you should go and teach that. And he's like, I've tried business before. I've tried doing my own business. It didn't really work. I was like, what'd you try? And he said, I've tried 2 businesses. And those 2 businesses failed. So he was really great at playing the piano, where in his mind, he was really terrible at running a business. So that held him back from running a business, even though he was great at playing the piano. And again, like, was it that he was terrible at business, or was it that he just tried 2 and failed twice? You know? He tried 2 businesses and they both failed. But because he'd failed, he then had this really poor self-concept within business. He was great at playing the piano. He'd probably be like an 8 or a 9 out of 10. But because he was really good in the playing the piano, but really terrible in business, he didn't pursue trying another business. Again, because he had poor self-concept in one social role that he'd played. Does that resonate?
Yeah. Can I share? So
Of course.
I separated it. I put business owner, 5 out of 10. Educator and player, 8 out of 10. Mum, 7 out of 10. Wife, 7 out of 10. As a daughter, 6 out of 10.
Amazing, yeah.
Exactly the same.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why I shared, because I envisioned that being the case. You want to say something, sorry?
I have a question. What if you have a higher self-concept of yourself than others do of you? Like it's the other way around. So you think you're like an 8 out of 10 or 9 out of 10, but then someone else reflecting back would be like, they're a 5 out of 10. Like, where does that come in like sabotage?
Yeah, again, it kind of alludes to before, like it's not really a problem unless it's a problem. I like being surrounded by people who are much cleverer than me, because it helps me grow and develop. But I'm okay also with people having opinions. You know, we all put content out online. I get it all of the time. And people message me like, oh, he's a scam artist, he's this. Like that's, I guess, the price you pay. So in terms of yours, if you can unpack it a little bit more, maybe I can help better. But can you give me an example where this is perhaps a problem?
In my life, on like a personal level.
Either or, business.
So like a personal level, like and I think my partner would agree that I'm like a 10 out of 10 girlfriend, definite wife material.
Amazing.
And like I believe that he knows that, like bring a lot to the table, and yet his perception of getting married is still not there. And so like it's been like such a jar in our relationship where like I would want to sabotage the relationship because it's like I think I'm a 10 out of 10, but you're not matching it, but you think, you know, so in that case, it's like, should one change your perception of where you're at, or do you...
Got you.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it makes
Those
sense.
things.
Yeah, so what you're telling me is your map of the world is if you're a 10 out of the 10, then he should want to marry you, correct?
Yeah.
Whereas his map of the world is you can be a 10 out of 10, and he still doesn't want to marry you yet.
Yeah.
Like, who's right there?
Both.
Exactly, yeah, no one's wrong. It's, again, it's just for me, and I'm not married, nor do I kind of, you know, I've not got any experience in that, but what I'm hearing is that it's just a different map of the world, right? Like, he can love you, know you're a 10 out of 10, and still want to wait to get married, you know? That's my perspective on it. It seems that you just have different maps of the world.
Right.
Helpful?
Yeah. I just have a question, like, when the sabotaging comes in, because
Okay.
maps don't correlate, I think, at least for me, and I wrote a lot of book on this as well, is when 2 maps are both right, but they don't correlate together, maybe comma yet, but the timeline creates friction. That's where the sabotage comes in, because
Gotcha.
both believe they're right and they are, but it's not aligned, but there's still an emotional charge. Like same with business, I guess, in that it can relate to so many things, but
Yeah, that makes sense. So have you guys, again, you okay to share this?
yeah. Sure.
So have you guys kind of clearly and effectively communicated such timelines?
Yeah,
And does his timeline correlate to yours?
to an extent.
Okay.
It's a complicated situation, that one.
Okay.
But yeah, and also like this stuff I love. I like to like reverse engineer it, because I think a a lot of people can have like a very high self-concept, but not actually have the value to back it. And like, at what point do we reassess our self-concept if we're overseeing? Like even in business, I worked with a lot of men who were narcissistic. So they really had a super high, even though it was low, but self-concept in like what they put out, but they didn't have the value to back it, but they wouldn't
Got ya.
shift it, you know what I mean? So like
Yeah.
that area is more like, how do we sabotage there? How do we fix that sabotage?
Got ya. Let me just make everyone aware. This will not make any sense to anyone who's suffering with narcissistic personality disorder, because they will just think they're a 10 in everything. My first mentor was and is his name is Richard Grannon. I don't know if anyone's heard of him. So he is literally the expert in kind of NPD. So this is, if anyone's a narcissist, which no one will be in this room, this is void. Like they're gonna be like, oh, I'm a 10 out of 10 of everything. So in that regard, yeah, it doesn't make any sense for them, because like you said, they have a kind of a very inflated self-concept. Yeah. But in terms of answering your question, I think again it's situational. I mean, if you brought this to me as a client, my initial response would be kind of, has the communication been there? Because a lot of the time, and I see this so often, people have problems, but they haven't communicated said problems to the person they need to. It's like, oh, I hate my job. I'm not being paid enough. Have you asked for a pay rise? No. Oh, I hate my girlfriend. She's doing this. Have you spoken to her about it? No. Oh, my son, my daughter keeps doing this and this and this. Have you tried to intervene and put something in place? Do you know what I mean? Is this making sense? And a lot of the time for me, and I had this conversation with Morgan, is almost all kind of complaints are simply just mismanaged expectations. Like, if I ski, does anyone ski? No? Me? Okay, cool. So I recently ordered some skis, and I ordered them, as you can see, my color is blue. I love everything blue. I ordered them in navy, and they came sky blue. I was furious. But why was I furious? Because I ordered navy blue, and sky blue came. Mismanaged expectations. Something so simple. If you... I mean, I could spend hours talking about this, but if you start a job and they sell you like, oh, you're going to be doing this, this, and this, and this, and then you get in and you're doing this, this, and this, and this, you're like, fuck, this is not what I signed up for. Again, it's mismanaged expectations. So my question back would be, in terms of the kind of the timelines, of course, like we said before, it's probably a lot of nuances, a lot of context, but I would be asking myself the question kind of, are you happy to wait? And I know it's so simple, but I think sometimes we overcomplicate it. Like, if I was in your situation, I would be thinking, like, this guy, where's this guy on the kind of boyfriend level?
Oh, he's a 10 out of 10.
Okay, amazing. So it'd be like, well, I could wait like another, okay, amazing. So I could kind of wait for like another year or two to get married to him. Or I could sabotage the relationship and then maybe go and find someone who's maybe a 7 or an 8 or maybe even a 6, but they'll marry me sooner. So then again, it would kind of be, okay, are you willing to wait? But maybe there's another conversation we can have about it. Maybe it's a bit more complex. Cool. So have everyone done this? Cool. Anyone like to share?
So, I feel like right now where I am as a business person is like a 5. As a spouse, I'm definitely a 9.
Nice.
As a daughter, probably 7. As a friend, I'm like 8.5. And the work that I do with my clients, definitely 8.5.
Okay, cool. And would you say, based on what you've shared, the numbers correlate the amount of self-sabotage you do within the business? In the sense of, the business was a 5, right?
Yeah.
Is that where most kind of procrastination, self-doubt, perfectionism, imposter syndrome come up?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, because I'm learning something completely that I've never done before.
Mhm.
So, of course, yes.
Yeah.
All of that, yeah.
Okay, thank you for sharing. Anyone else? Anyone else want to share? Should we have one more? One more. Amazing.
Wasn't going to, but I've been looking at this. I feel like it's kind of interesting because I rate myself as a lifter or power lifter. I rate myself really low on that.
Okay.
And I feel like at the moment that's just taken a real backseat to coaching and business side of things. And just what you're saying makes sense because I feel like a lot of sabotage going on with my own training.
Yeah, thank you for sharing, yeah. All I want you to do, every single person in here, is to just come away with something different, just a different perspective, a different insight, and maybe a better understanding as to, as I said before, I won't say it again in case, we forget where it is. So thank you for sharing. Anybody got something that kind of doesn't make any sense to them? That kind of contradicts what I'm saying? No?
I do.
Amazing, yeah, let's go.
My business, like, I feel like on a high level, like when I look at it, I'm like, fuck, I've done so much because I'm such a baby business and I'm like really proud of myself. But I do definitely self-sabotage a lot in the business. So I did like, because when I look at the bigger picture, I did rate myself as like a 7 or 8, but on the daily I am self-sabotaging. So it feels like, yeah, on a high level, on the macro, but when I look at the micro, there is a lot of self-sabotage. So I feel like I need to break this down, like you said, the sales hat, the marketing hat, the sales, like all of that.
Yeah.
Then I would be able to dive into it deeper, but looking at that high level number, I feel like it's not giving me enough insight.
Got ya. Yeah, that makes sense. And in terms of your kind of ideal self in business, how far away are you from that? Because let's say, hypothetically, let's say I'm a 5 out of 10 in business, okay? And maybe I associate, let's just say financially, I associate, okay, like how well I'm doing in business is how much money I make. Let's say I'm making 500K and I want to make $1 million. That's kind of, it's halfway, right? So with your numbers, again, and it's one metric, right? I'm not saying this is one metric fits all. But with your numbers, are you kind of in a similar situation where you're saying you're a 7? So where would the ideal self be in that regard? So let's just stick to money-wise. So if you're a 7, where's a 10?
It's really hard because I don't look at it as money. Like in my sales thing with Morgan, she was like, "How much do you want to make?" I was like, "I'm happy with 2K."
Okay.
Like I don't really care how much money I make, but I know that I'm putting all of the energy into it, and that's where I'm getting my number from because I'm focusing all of my energy and I'm starting to get the results. So I feel like when I look at it from an energy level, sorry, this might not be everyone's language in here.
I understand.
But I feel like I am where I want to be from an energy level because I am putting that much energy into it. And I know if I keep doing that, I will get to where I want to be. So I feel like I'm not that far away from where I want to be.
Makes sense.
Because I'm doing what I need to do.
Got ya. Yeah, it makes perfect sense. So you're saying you're almost where you need to be, which is why at the moment you're kind of a 7.
Yeah.
Right? But that can still happen, you know, with 7 to 10, self-sabotage, self-doubt, procrastination, etc.
This might be helpful, but I think like if you think about the direction and the destination, I found like a little YouTube video about this the other day, so I was in Marbella. But it's like in terms of your destination, you may be like, and I guess you don't have a monetary thing, but you may be a 2 out of 10 in terms of like where you want to go. But in terms of your like direction or like who you're being in this moment, you might be being a 10, but you haven't collapsed the timeline yet. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Clears it up.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd be interested to kind of know when you do that exercise, when you do break it down even further, because again, this is just business. There's so many different things you need to do within that, as you mentioned. So yeah, I'd be interested to know a bit more about that. Any other questions before we move on?
I got a question. On the energy thing as well, like, what if you as a coach or a person like in your business, you feel like you're really giving your 10 out of 10, like your amazing client results, everything's good, and you're being matched for it at the financial level that you always thought would be great, say it's like a 10K month. And then you come to the concept of like wanting to scale or grow bigger, but you're already a 10 out of 10 in the energy that you're putting out. How do you then shift your self-concept to actually earn more if you already believe this is a worthy level? Because a part of me is like, you would want to work more, do more too, which I know is not possible if you're a 10 out of 10. So what do we do to actually believe in our self-value to raise actually our destination? Like, well, I think a lot of us do achieve the destination and it's like, oh wow, like amazing. But then if we want to go bigger, but still keep a good self-concept, how do we keep that level balanced without then like sabotaging our time or our health or our relationships? So we keep an equilibrium in other areas of our life, but extend the destination in like finance or business.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
I think so. If I've got this wrong, then tell me. But by that ideology, what you've just mentioned, right, then the ideal self would have naturally changed, which then means this number then automatically changes. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So if you can feel like I'm an 8 out of 10, like things are really good, maybe even a 9. I wouldn't say, honestly, I'm a 10 out of 10 of anything, because I always think there's always room for improvement. And as I said before, every time you get to a particular goal, revenue, staff, whatever it is, the goalposts move. It's almost like a when-then fallacy. It's like, when this happens, then I'm going to be a 10 out of 10. And then you get there and you're like, oh, I'm still a 7 because now I want to get to here. So what I would say is, with what you've mentioned, is you can decide, okay, you know, I'm an 8, like things are good. But then what you're telling me, and if I've got this wrong, tell me. I've made mistakes and I'll continue to make mistakes in the future. But it sounds like you're saying, I'm an 8 out of 10 based on where I am. But now this, where I want to go, is changing. Does that make sense? Yeah? Because as you've just mentioned, then it's like, oh, it can be great, but then this resets, right? It's like, okay, based on my goals now, again, let's just use monetary. Like we do about 500K, and like maybe I want to do 1 million. So maybe again, like I said, I'm like a 5, whatever. And then once we get there, again, I'm just using money. Then it's like, okay, well now I want to do 1 million a month, or now I want to do 2 million. And then again, this just resets. Okay, so I think you mentioned earlier on, is this at the present or on the past? And if you do the same exercise again in the future, it's going to change in 6 months. So this is just based on where you are now. Does all that make sense? Any other questions?
This is so good. Like, I want to sit down with Mark and have like a full day just being like, what are we doing in our roles? This is so good.
Thank you. I appreciate that feedback. I was a bit... Cool. Okay. That went on a little longer than anticipated, which is fine. But I just wanted to ask, does anyone want to kind of have a 2-minute break, or should we continue?
I was just thinking on this. I think we should continue because I think at 12 we might get kicked out and moved into a different room.
Oh, really?
So yeah.
Okay, cool. Let's run through it really quick. Okay, next thing is limits and transferred beliefs. Okay. Limited transferred beliefs. Okay. Now, this is one of my favorites, because one thing I learned while I was at the mastermind was there was people making a hell of a lot more money than me, a lot more kind of intelligent than me, academically, and they had so many beliefs that just weren't theirs. They had so many kind of thoughts, and I can't do this, this is why. There was this one guy, and I'm going to tell the story without the name, and he was like, oh, I'm a fitness coach, like I have to do my one-to-one check-ins, I don't want to do them. And I was like, why? I was like, why do you have to do them? And he's like, oh, because they signed up, they want to work with me. And I was like, okay, do you want some feedback on that? And he said, yeah. And I was like, okay, so here's what I did. And I said, well, I shared with my clients that I now have a new client success coach, and therefore she is going to be doing a lot of the one-to-ones. And everyone that I had already sold onto the one-to-one with me, I asked them. I said, would you be against kind of doing the one-to-one with BB instead of me? 70% said, no, it's fine, everything's good. And I just delegated it. She did a lot of the one-to-ones, and now I just did a lot less one-to-ones. But in his mind, he had a belief that he couldn't do that because his clients paid for him. Maybe in this instance, maybe that wouldn't work. But the way I framed it was, I said, ask the question. Because you're saying to your client, hey, this is what I'm thinking about doing. Would you be against it? You maybe get 2 or 3 people, maybe even more, that say no. For the most part, if you're delivering value, they're getting what they've paid for in terms of the results, and you're a good coach, most people will say, yeah, that's cool, no worries. But again, he was holding on to this belief that he couldn't do it, and he went and did it, and yeah, what I said would happen, happened. Okay. I'm literally just going to try and fly through this. Okay, cool. So a lot of the, so limited and transferred beliefs, obviously these can come from anybody. And they can be really, really harmful. Morgan mentioned before, and I jotted this down. Does anyone remember, she was talking about money, and she said, thanks mum and dad for those kind of money habits. So what had happened is Morgan's mum and dad, yeah? Mum and dad transferred beliefs onto Morgan about money, and they were helpful, you know? Sometimes we can have helpful beliefs, sometimes we can have harmful beliefs. So I'm going to share two with you really quickly that my mum gave to me. Really random, nothing to do with business, but I literally thought this way for like 20 years. She said to me, roller coasters are, that's supposed to be now, roller coasters are bad. People get killed on them. Now, she told me that when I was younger. So for 20 years, I didn't go to Alton Towers. Like, I'd never been to Alton Towers. Again, it was a limited and transferred belief, transferred from mum to me. I thought, oh no, roller coasters are bad. And I just held on to that belief. And it was just because well, it's my mum. Like, when you're young, when you're a child, you just believe what your parents say. So that was one of them. So this kind of, I would say it probably harmed me from having fun. The next one, I shared this with Morgan the other day, was, so ecstasy is bad. People die from it. So, again, I've given you these totally random ones because I really wanted to...
Drug or just...
The drug, yes, the drug.
Just checking.
Yeah, so I remember, who here remembers Casualty? Anyone? Yeah? So this is a show, basically it's a hospital show in the UK. And I remember as a kid, I remember like it was yesterday. There was this guy foaming from the mouth. And I said, Mum, what's happened to this person? And she said, he took ecstasy, Sean. That's what happens when you take ecstasy. So I've taken drugs in the past, but never ecstasy. Why? Because Mum told me people die from it. So can you really see kind of the power of those limited and transferred beliefs? Like, some of them are harmful, some of them are helpful. Some would argue, this was harmful, maybe I missed out on a good time. I don't know, I'm not gonna try. But for the most part, I would say it reduced the probability of me dying, and that's usually good. So again, like, it's subjective, right? Does this make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, so really quickly, I don't want everyone to share, but if you can, just think of maybe a belief that was transferred from mum or dad or caregiver onto you. I'm going to try and fly through this. So just want you to think of one. If you can give me one, amazing. If not, do not stress.
I'll give you mine real quick.
Yes.
So a helpful one with money is don't spend beyond your means, which is why I was able to save.
Exactly.
An unhelpful one with money was that I watched my mom, like you just talked about, I watched her spend time to save money,
Yeah.
to spend money to save time, right? Like, she'd drive around to get, 7 different grocery stores to get
Mhm.
best Vicentio and tomatoes, and that is not helpful when you're trying to do business, right? So, good beliefs about money, not super helpful beliefs about money.
Exactly. Anyone else got any examples? Let's go.
Yeah, like in my family, my potential and my possibilities were limited
Okay.
because I'm a girl and
Yeah.
money doesn't grow on trees.
Money doesn't grow on trees. Amazing
That
one.
one.
Yeah. Anybody else? Someone put their hand up just there.
I just had maybe two related ones.
Okay.
Debt is bad, and banks steal from you.
Okay. Yeah. Money is often one I see people battle with. Okay, cool. So I have something here, and I need to get this out because this will be really helpful. And I'm trying to run through it all, so bear with me.
Honestly, we can make the rest of this work. If we need to brainstorm stuff in the common area,
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Cool. I guess kind of the overarching message I was kind of trying to drive home with limits and transferred beliefs is some of the beliefs we've held on to for so long, and they aren't even our beliefs. We just think they are our beliefs because we've held on to them for so long. Exactly. And just like that whole thing there, like, that wasn't my belief about Alton Towers, about the roller coasters and ecstasy, that was Mum's. So it harmed me in some ways helped me. I want to just press on the money. This is what I see a lot of the time. People have beliefs such as money is bad. You know, rich people are bad people. Now, I see this often. So if you have this belief, I mean, you might not think you have it now, maybe it's subconscious. And we haven't got enough time to kind of dive into ways and tactics you can identify if you do hold such subconscious beliefs, because some of you may well have this belief. Maybe you don't. But if you have this belief, guess what you're going to avoid happening? Making lots of fucking money. Because you believe that rich people are bad people and we don't want to become bad. Make sense?
Yeah.
Amazing. Any questions?
I do have a question.
Hit me.
Is there a difference between limiting transfer to this? It's like something that you got from somewhere else, versus like things you form throughout your own life based on your experiences?
Cool. So, good question. Really good question. Beliefs have to come from somewhere. We don't wake up with beliefs in the sense of we just one day start believing something. They have been transferred, be it consciously or subconsciously. So for an example, you know, if we believe that money is bad, maybe mum nor dad didn't say that, but maybe someone told you a story and then you have this perception of, because, I don't know, this person who's a millionaire really hurt somebody who wasn't. And then you can start thinking in that manner. So is there a difference? Well, I would just say that all beliefs have to come from somewhere. We might just not know where they've come from. Helpful?
Yeah. So you just have to analyze to see like where it might have come from.
Yeah, sometimes it's not really necessary to identify like where it's come from and be like, oh, mom, like, or dad, or whoever. Like, the fact is, if we have them, we can change them.
Yeah.
You know. But yeah, good question. Okay, so that's limits and transferred beliefs. A huge one is money. You'll always remember now roller coasters and ecstasy when it comes to limits and transferred beliefs. Okay, need for control. Let's fly through this.
Question.
Yes, hit me. Oh, thank you. Thank you. There you go. See how much I'm trying to work through it? Okay. Okay.
Anxiety.
Yes. Okay, so Megan mentioned something before. Sorry, Megan. You remember you mentioned about the type form? There's a little resistance. That's anxiety of change. That's because... Oh, yeah. So that's because you have a system that has been working well, and when you tried to do type form in the past, it's not worked well. Is that right?
Yeah, because I'm too lazy.
Yeah, so exactly. So the reason you're kind of resisting it is because it's change. And as I said before, the life plan is just trying to keep you safe. Even if kind of keeping you safe is halting your progress in the business. Make sense? Cool. Anyone here help clients with anxiety? I know you had a client, Matt. Is it Matt Young?
Matt and Tyler. Matt's not here, neither is Tyler.
Okay.
I used sometimes help people with anxiety, yeah.
Yeah, that's how I market myself, yeah.
Okay, cool. So have you ever got someone on I know you mentioned you're relatively new. Have you been doing sales calls so far?
Yeah.
Have you ever kind of, someone said they want to do it and they don't pay?
Oh yeah, it's always
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly. That's it. It's anxiety to change. Again, it's like there's a possible solution to your problem, but taking that leap seems more scary than staying in pain. Who here stayed in a relationship longer than they know they should have? Anxiety of change. Who here stayed in a job longer than they know they should have? Anxiety of change. It's because we perceive even the pain that we're feeling within those particular situations more bearable than the uncertainty. Make sense? Cool. Flying through this really quick. So there is, I think Morgan mentioned, that was Megan. Yeah, I think you mentioned before about the type form. That's what I wanted to mention. That's just anxiety of change. It's like we've got a potential solution, but I don't want to do it because what we're doing at the moment works.
You know what? Even I experienced that when remember the new follower ad and it was screwing up our ads and then we had to switch to DM ads for
Yeah.
a week or so? I was like, DM ads. I was like, I don't know how to do those right now. It's like,
Yeah.
I don't want to relearn this, like anxiety.
Yeah, absolutely. And I said to you before with the plan, like every single thing that everybody does in terms of self-sabotage, 95%, I'll say 95 because the 5% is kind of full disclosure. Like people can be gone through a lot of trauma. People can be narcissistic, we mentioned before. So it's not just 100%. Of course, there are exceptions to the rule. Okay, are we on need for control?
Yes.
Okay, amazing. Okay, so I see this a lot. Can I share your story?
Share it.
Okay, so obviously Morgan's mentioned on several occasions kind of, that need for control. Now, when I actually spoke with Morgan a while back, we had a first call. I was late for that call. She never let me kind of forget that. She was like, you need to respect my time. And I was like, you're right, I'm wrong, I'm sorry. And I've always respected Morgan ever since that day. However, on that call, I was approaching that call and I was thinking to myself, this girl is doing so much better than me financially. Again, my own beliefs, I'm not perfect, I'm a human. And I was thinking, I'm gonna learn so much from her, which I did. But she come away from that call, she was asking me so many different questions. And I kind of made an assumption that based on everything she shared with me, she kind of struggled with that need of control. I was like, I have a client success coach. She was like, I need to get one of those. I was like, yeah, I don't even do that. She was like, yeah, I need to do that. And I was like, are you doing everything? She was like, yeah. I was like, fuck, stop. Remember?
Okay, at this point, was doing my tax bookkeeping still.
Yeah, oh, sorry, I missed that
I
out.
had stacks of receipts. Been going through
Yeah.
my taxes for weeks.
I missed the good story.
Are you doing your bookkeeping?
Yeah, I was like, why are you doing that? I was like, oh, I have an accountant, I just pay her and she does it all for me. And that was kind of when I realized, thank you for that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So again, it's like
Just like GD. but
yeah,
receipts.
receipts and everything. I was like, why are you doing that? I was like, you make more money than me. I was like, hire someone.
Well, you know what that was? The limiting transferred beliefs from my parents.
Exactly. Amazing. So this need for control, I want to kind of just give you a really quick concept. So you've probably all had clients that, or maybe you haven't, but you will have them, where they're on a sales call and they want to know everything. They want to know the deliverables. Can they speak to you on a Monday? What if they have a question on a Saturday? What worksheets do we get? Can I get support on the weekends? Anyone kind of had those clients that they just ask so many questions and they want to know the whole picture? That's because this is what they struggle with. They need to know the whole picture before they pull the trigger.
That's funny because that's me.
Okay. So this is kind of exactly that problem. It's I can't, let's look at, I don't know, this is a staircase, the staircase to success. It's if I can't see all of this, I'm not taking this step. It's I need to know everything before I take this first step here. Because if I don't know everything and how things are going to work out, I'm not going to take it. Again, need for control and anxiety of change as well. But more so need for control, not to complicate things. Okay, so that need for control. Anyone kind of relate to that, by the way? I know you just mentioned, yeah? Anyone had any clients thus far that kind of just want to know the whole deliverables? I have clients that are oh yeah, that's fine, I'll sign up. I'm what did I just pay for? They clearly don't struggle with that need for...
Funny sales call just a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah?
And we went through, all the normal stuff about his training and that. They wanted to know all the details of the delivery, and I did all of that. And then at the end, it was yeah, okay, cool. Just send me any other details after this and I'll think about it. I was like, what other details?
Yeah.
I told you everything. I was
Yeah.
yeah, sure, I'll send you my onboarding page and you can look through the things there. But I would have to
Yeah.
tell you everything.
Exactly. He would have struggled with that. He?
Yes.
Yeah, he would have struggled with that. Does this make sense? Is this helpful?
Yeah.
Yeah? Cool. So as I said to before, the whole, you want to just kind of look at it as a staircase. And those people that struggle with that need for control, they are essentially halting their own progress. So for an example, somebody, who struggles with need for control, they might not hire someone, or they might hire someone too late. They may struggle with delegation. They may struggle, I can hear a few giggles. They may be doing a lot of the busy work when they could just hire someone else to delegate, obviously, to do any other hiring and to do all of the busy work that you don't need to be doing. So, I asked you all at the beginning. That makes sense? Any questions? Cool. Feel like I've had an extra shot of coffee trying to rush through this.
Yeah.
Okay, so I asked you all before to write down 1 or 2 things, maybe more, of ways in which you're sabotaging your business. So, it was plan. So hopefully by now, and we'll run through really quickly, every single one of you should be. If you can't, then maybe we need to dive deeper into it, or I've done my job correctly. But you should be able to put one of the areas that you're sabotaging into one of these. So when I was running through earlier on, I was able to, at the very beginning, is it Kira? Kira, yeah, I went through hers. Hers definitely fell into one of them. Anyone else? Anyone else want to share? Yeah? P, amazing. Sorry, I've put you on the spot here.
I don't really know.
Okay, that's cool.
What I wrote down earlier was not putting enough time.
Okay. So is that just what you wrote, not putting enough time? Okay. Into what?
Into what was the question? How we're sabotaging?
Yeah, how we're sabotaging our business, yeah.
Yeah, I struggled to think of what it might be actually.
Okay.
That's what I put down.
Okay, cool. So there will be a reason behind that. Maybe we just haven't been able to identify it. So maybe it's a belief. And I'll give you a really quick example in terms of the beliefs. If we have subconscious beliefs that we hold on to so tight, we'll make those beliefs true. Because the brain is always striving for cognitive consonance. If you believe you aren't worthy of a loving relationship, and deep down believe it, you're going to make sure that your reality matches that. If you believe, I'm terrible with money, I can never save to, 10K. Maybe you'll get really, 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 really close, like 9K, and then you'll book a holiday. Or you'll buy a new program. And again, you're making this belief true.
It's like I've always had my 10K bucking stash, and then I get it, and I'm like, perfect, I'm just going to invest that. And then damn it, you could have got to 11K.
Exactly. So this is why the beliefs are so powerful, because if we truly believe our beliefs, then we will make them true, whether it's in love, whether it's with finances or business. So maybe, and I'm not saying this is the case, but maybe there's a belief there that you don't think it's possible for you to run a successful coaching business. Again, I'm not putting those words into your mouth, but maybe there's a belief there, maybe not. Anyone else want to share?
Definitely L.
Okay.
Mine was, I stopped working one-on-one with men, and it was because I had this one narcissistic client, but he pushed it back super hard on me, wouldn't pay, and then I got this limiting belief that maybe I didn't bring enough value, maybe it wasn't good, and then it just felt so much in my mind, I was like, I'm out, I can't go there.
Amazing.
Yeah, it's like...
Something happened really quickly. I want to share this really, really quickly today. I was in the Uber on the way, and I got this voice note from a guy who had a similar belief, saying he can't work with men.
So I had a new client from Australia, right? And it's a man. Not even a woman, it's a man. That's my first client. That's my first male client in 3 years. So
Can you hear
I
that?
think when I get back to England next week, I think I'm gonna run an ad, and I'm gonna target men and women. Right? Like, not just limit myself to women, men doing the work as well. I'm doing the work. My new clients start to do the work. So yeah, man, I think I'm gonna create a new ad and go for men as well. Yeah, just want to share that. It's from Australia as well. Man, fucking hell, maybe you had a client from Australia before. Bro,
That happened today. That was 8:10. That was a guy who came to me and he said, "Hey, Sean, I can only work with women." Again, limits and transferred beliefs. I never work with men. Men don't want to hire me. And now he's just been hired this morning. So yeah, very kind of relevant. Anyone else want to share? Anyone who can't kind of put their thing into one of these 4 areas? Yeah?
Yeah, so my thing was just being inconsistent with content and stories. And I feel like I know where that comes from. I said it's perfectionism, imposter syndrome, fear of failure, rejection, shame, all those kind of things.
Mm-hmm.
So each one of those fits into a different bit.
Absolutely.
It could be all of them, but definitely the first 3.
Thank you for bringing that up. Absolutely doesn't need to just go into one of them. That can be a multitude. What we found is most people struggle with at least 2 of these the most. So for an example, in the program, we go through a really kind of in-depth assessment, and then we kind of say, okay, yeah, it's poor self-concept and limits and transferred beliefs. So yeah, that makes perfect sense.
So for me, probably mainly the first 2.
Exactly, yeah. Anyone can't put it in? No? So I said to you before that I wanted to kind of leave you with a different insight, a different kind of perspective to understand why you what? Why you can't do the things that you know you should do, why you are doing the things that you know you shouldn't do, and why sometimes you think that you can't do the things that you really want to. Have I done that today?
Yes.
Perfect. That's me done.